Hello, dear friends. Expecting something over which you have no influence, but on which you place too many expectations, leads to disappointment and frustration, says Rinus Verhagen. Opinion piece: ShockWave, soft landing, critical period, upcoming event, systemic change, silent tipping point, winter storm alert. Change on November 22nd. It's not chaos but cleansing. Events from November 23rd to 30th. Will we see anything before the end of the year? Let's start. The Economist cover story, The Well Ahead 2026, predicts a financial collapse next year. It also suggests a clash between technological control and popular rebellion, with a new balance of power reshaping the wealth rules. A shockwave symbolizes the awakening or confrontation with truths that alter perception and lead to personal and collective transformation. It is a short duration, high energy pulse with a rapid increase in pressure, capable of programming and transferring energy, causing physical effects. It is an event that represents a sudden, profound and disruptive change that brings about a significant transformation in a system. Mr. Poole describes a global economic and political shift called a shockwave, where billions are being recovered through quantum authority. Offshore vaults are being emptied, and fortunes from darknet networks are being redirected to sovereign wealth funds that promise loans to the population. The old financial order is crumbling to allow for a direct redistribution of recovered wealth into verified accounts targeted at veterans, small businesses, and families affected by inflation. The stock market crash and bank failures are seen as necessary purges of corruption, and new safeguards, like Starlink, defend this new system against sabotage. Under GSR's mandate, debt cancellation, the abolition of income tax, the release of suppressed technology, and the restoration of constitutional rights are promised, effectively transferring control from the elite to the people. The message concludes by declaring the end of the world order and the rise of a new empowered humankind. The next step would be the direct redistribution of wealth. Recovered assets would be deposited into verified quantum accounts. Veterans, small businesses, and families affected by inflation would receive what was taken from them. The final phase will not be clean. Market crashes, layoffs, and bank failures are not chaos but cleansing. Each collapse eliminates a corrupt node from the previous system. Starlink protects quantum nodes from sabotage, while international financial institutions lose access to the network. Winter storm alert. James Howard Chancellor warns of the instability of financial markets. He predicts a crisis with uncertain outcomes, where the foundations of the current monetary system are fragile and likely to be disrupted unless systemic change occurs. Therefore, the heroic action consists of overcoming all of this and achieving a safe landing, out of harm's way. In reality, it is only a matter of time before the ground beneath our feet gives way and everything suddenly collapses. QFS accounts are being activated worldwide as gold vaults are unlocked, according to Ethan White of the Geisteller. The QFS is already operational in classified test rooms. It has been running since mid-July 2025, and there are reports of activation of level set redemption groups in 14 countries. Ordinary people are being contacted. Accounts are being unlocked. Gold is being allocated. But all of this is happening very discreetly, under supervision and on a case-by-case basis, while engineers fine-tune the final integration of the system globally. Turning point. November 22nd will change the financial system forever. Mark Vidal explains the global migration that will occur on November 22nd, 2025, when more than 11,000 banks in 200 countries will adopt the new ISO 20022 financial messaging standard. This change will replace the old SWIFT messages with much richer data-driven XML-based messages, allowing the goal is to make information in international financial transactions more complete, faster, and less error-prone. XML is an extensible markup language that allows for the definition of custom tags to describe data and its structure, facilitating information exchange and integrity. Thanks to its flexibility, these messages are used in web services, databases, and enterprise platforms. ISO 20022 is an international standard for financial messaging, a common language for institutions to describe transactions uniformly. It defines how to structure payments, transfers, settlements, foreign exchange, and what data should be included. This change represents a structural transformation in how global financial information is processed. This standard facilitates interoperability between traditional banking systems, blockchain, and central bank digital currencies, preparing the infrastructure for global financial synchronization, tokenization, automation, and programmable money. While there won't be visible chaos on November 22nd, it will mark a silent turning point in the global financial system. Projects like Ripple, Stellar, Hedera, and Quant have made progress in adopting this standard and integrating new payment technologies to improve the efficiency, transparency, and security of the global financial system. However, its actual adoption in banks remains low, and its technical compatibility is an obstacle. Irreversible events. Natalia Dyachenko warns of a critical period between November 23rd and 30th, 2025, considered a secret window of planetary programming for human consciousness. In her view, cosmic processes are occurring during this time that affect energy and collective consciousness. Natalia highlights physical and emotional signs associated with this transition, such as a feeling of pressure in the head, disturbing dreams, a desire for radical change, weakness without apparent cause, and sudden conflicts, which reflect an energetic and emotional reconfiguration. She also emphasizes that this stage is an opportunity for those who are aware and led to channel this cosmic energy for their personal transformation, freeing themselves from toxic influences and limiting beliefs. Upcoming event. The beings of light channeled by Sierra and Jaide do not reveal specific signs of the upcoming event to avoid altering its manifestation, but they guarantee that it will occur before December 31st, 2025. No one is alone, as many support teams are guiding people and this process of ascension to a new dimension. She explains that the auroras seen in unusual locations are physical manifestation of the changes to Earth. At the changes the Earth is undergoing, and confirms the high level of activity in the sky. They affirm that everyone is individually prepared for the event, although frustration and impatience with the wait are palpable. Regarding the unusual physical systems many are experiencing, they attribute them to the body's natural process of adjusting to the new energy frequencies, recommending trusting one's inner guidance. They speak of the difficulties many light warriors face as final test or a release of karma, and mention that this experience leads to spiritual growth. They assure that loved ones who vibrate at the same frequency of love and are being supported in their transition will ascend together. Fight. Ismael Perez describes a fight against global corruption and control networks, pointing to the imminent release of the Epstein files that will expose trafficking and abuse schemes linked to certain political groups and financial elites. Ismael explains the existence of multiple clones or actors who have politically repressed President Trump, differentiating between these versions to clarify public confusion, and details how the disclosure of these files will lead to a radical change in public perception and the power structure. The Epstein files will be released after all the names of powerful people are redacted, according to Mike Adams. Both the use of representatives and the Senate, the House of Representatives and the Senate passed a law to force the release of Epstein's files, but only after Pam Bondi and the Justice Department redrew the files of any powerful individuals' names. Ismael Perez also mentions energy reforms that would promote transparency and end collective illusions, as well as operations that are cleaning up corruption networks in key cities like Chicago. Ismael emphasizes that this process is part of a massive awakening of consciousness toward our multidimensional nature and the preparation for a new era of human liberation, which includes the recovery of both political and spiritual sovereignty. World Reset. Disciple John presents Gisara as a world reset that will begin a new cycle of evolution and human ascension, marking the arrival of an era of freedom, prosperity, and spiritual unity. This program promises a redistribution of wealth, the end of debt for many people, the cancellation of income tax, and the release of suppressed technologies, as well as the restoration of constitutional rights. In his view, there are plans to build ascension centers around the world intended to guide the awakening and mass enlightenment. He also mentions the arrival of benevolent beings who will bring technological and healing advancements, helping humanity to evolve spiritually and synchronize with the forces of light. A vision of a spiritual victory and a new era of universal harmony is presented, one that will replace the periods of darkness and control. He emphasizes that this transformation is imminent and that the alliance between the dark forces has been broken, paving the way for a future where sovereignty, abundance, and truth will prevail. A warning is issued against DNA-altering chips, asserting that these beings will provide the future medmeds technology to heal everyone. Revaluation. According to Rinus Verhagen, revaluation is a tool to convert devalued currencies into value and carry out projects for the common good. However, the greatest capital lies in people who have a purpose, who have adjusted their mindset, who have set aside their ego, and who have activated their creativity. Turning an idea into reality through creativity means that someone has already begun implementing a plan with the solution they have devised. Verhagen encourages us to awaken our collective consciousness and be active in building the new world that is emerging, based on cooperation, creativity, and personal responsibility. He addresses the arrival of the reset by 2026, which has been influenced by the technological evolution of cryptocurrencies and the application of satellite networks like Starlink to replace older systems and central banks, rendering these institutions obsolete. He points out that the financial system is being replaced by more decentralized structures, where citizens will be their own bankers. He emphasizes that this transformation requires a change in mindset, individual responsibility, and collective action. He wants that it is not necessary to passively wait for revaluation funds to begin contributing and making projects that benefit society a reality. Interesting or curious. Whitney Webb describes a control over personal autonomy, facilitating surveillance without the need for judicial processes and controlling people's financial mobility. Change affects us all. The video Babylon is Falling highlights a moment of social crisis where the power structure is in decline, but attempts are made to resist through increasingly authoritarian mechanisms to control the masses and eliminate dissent. According to Bennett Ross, the clock towers belong to ancient civilizations like Tartary and are attuned to the Earth's natural frequency. They exhibit superior technology and architectural extravagance far beyond the current level. These towers were built with perfect symmetry and incredible ingenuity. At their peak, the clock towers emitted healing waves. It was a system of ropes and cables with attached weights, powered by gravity. Ancient societies used sound wave technology to positively influence people and promote healing. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.